I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Fred Garratt-Stanley. I'm a freelance beer writer. I do a range of writing as well. I do a lot of music and culture journalism as well, and I've been doing beer and pub writing for it's probably coming up to about 3 years now.
So how long have you been a member of the guild? Because I know you're a bit of a newbie, aren't you?
It's probably coming up to a year now I've been a member of the guild, I would say. Yeah.
What inspired you to join?
Yeah, I think firstly, I think it's really important to have solidarity between different writers and creatives, and the beer writing scene is a really nice community, but one that I feel like I can sort of tap into even more and like get to know more people within that. So joining the guild for me was partly due to wanting to have more of those kind of connections and also to access the resources, the workshops and talks and things like that. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of stuff to really benefit me and other writers. And it was also partly to enter my work for the awards as well. That was definitely a factor.
How did you make the segue into beer? Did you start with the music and culture stuff and then jump into that? I'm just interested to find out more about that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been interested in beer for a long time, but it took me a while to kind of fuse my interest in beer with my writings. My beer story probably starts at 18, pulling pints at my local pub, which was the Fat Cat in Norwich, which is a brilliant pub, an amazing place to get to know beer, find out how the cellars work, finding out how to condition cask beer and how to taste it a little bit. And yeah, so that really caused me to have a love of beer that I then continued developing over the years, worked at different pubs. And then after I was at university, I was kind of doing bar work alongside other bits of work, gradually trying to get more and more freelance writing stuff to the point where I was able to go full-time freelance. And then, yeah, it was fairly soon after that I started to fuse the two worlds, got better at pitching ideas, started like finding different magazines and publications within the beer world and getting more into that space really. And it's been so enjoyable since I've been in that space.
So I know you said you've been with the guild for nearly a year, but I know that your, obviously your beer story lasts longer than that. But I just wanted to find out, I guess, what are you most proud of so far?
Yeah, I was thinking about this, and weirdly, one of the things I'm most proud about in my kind of beer writing journey so far is a piece that is actually not available online anymore. Because basically, I wrote a feature for Time Out about the Wetherspoons pub closures that are happening across the UK and the effect that has on local working class communities where a lot of people can't often afford to drink in other pubs. And as much as I have a lot of issues with Wetherspoons, they do provide like a really important social function. So the piece that I wrote was diving into that whilst also criticising Wetherspoons and Tim Martin in particular. But once it went up and got quite a lot of traction, Wetherspoons basically reached out to Time Out threatening legal action. There was no factual inaccuracies or anything in the piece at all, but they basically didn't like the criticisms I made of Tim Martin about how he treated staff during the lockdown, the comments he's made about Brexit and things like that. So eventually the piece got taken down, but I kind of saw it as proof that it was good journalism. So I kind of take the positives out of that.
So that's so interesting. Because I think, I guess you like to know that you're making an impact, whatever that impact is, whether that's, sometimes it's the views, sometimes it's the comments, and sometimes it is, I guess, you're writing, provoking a reaction, whatever that may be. But yeah, that's so interesting. So I think you definitely agitated them. So what have you got on right now? What have you had released recently that we can point people towards? Because obviously we want to get as much support for your work as possible.
Yeah, thank you. I'm writing a lot for Ferment at the moment. Have been over the last kind of year or so. I've been writing in most issues, I'd say. So recently I did a piece for them about something I'm really passionate about, non-league football. So I wrote a piece about the relationship between craft beer and non-league football and how these kind of local community clubs, which offer such a positive alternative to the Premier League and all the kind of glamour and wealth of it, they offer the perfect space for kind of new relationships with beer and local businesses that are also a really great alternative to the kind of like homogenous corporate lager that you get at massive sports stadiums. I wrote a piece for Ferment about the hidden politics of tapas as well. That was for their Iberia issue. And I'm working on a couple of pieces that will come out in the next couple of issues too. One about honey ale. So yeah, lots of stuff for them, which I'd love people to read. Also I'm working on something for Pellicle at the moment, which will be, it's basically a long read about my favorite pub in the world. So that's going to be a really fun one to do. And yeah, those are the kind of two main publications that I write for. So earlier this year, I did a piece for Pellicle about the pubs of Rye as well, which has an amazing pub scene down there. But I was able to really dive into the history of the place as well, because it's got a fascinating history, that stretch of coastline. A lot of evidence of smuggling, for example. There is a lot of conflict as well as collaboration with the European continent because it's so close to France. So yeah, I'd love people to read that as well. That was a piece that I put a lot of effort into.
Yeah. So you've got a lot on your plate right now, but I still want to ask you. Obviously, you've got all of this on. I guess if you could pick anything that ambitions wise, or actually it's on your bucket list of things that you want to do or publications you want to write for, I just want you to put that out into the universe right now.
Yeah. Um, I think an issue that a lot of people within the beer world talk about is the lack of opportunities for beer writers given at major publications, and like some of the more traditional broadsheets and stuff like that. I would love to be able to get more work in those kind of places. You know, obviously like Pete Brown's doing really great stuff at the Times and stuff like that. But I'd love that opportunity. So kind of expanding into places that allow you to reach new readers as well. And I suppose as well, I've got a Substack which I'd be keen to promote, and that's somewhere where I talk about a lot of things, history and politics, but also beer and pubs are sometimes covered on that. And so that's a space where I'll definitely continue telling stories related to beer and pubs as well.
If someone was like, actually, I am really interested in beer writing, I have no idea where to start, what to do. I guess if you could give them any pieces of advice, what would you tell them?
Yeah, I mean, so I can only really speak as a writer and a journalist, first and foremost. For me, pitching is something that you don't learn anything about until you're a freelance writer and you have to do it all the time. And it's a real art form. So like, I definitely advise people to spend lots of time watching videos, reading articles about how to work on pitching as a skill, because it's all about selling your idea and persuading the editor that it's the right fit for their publication. A book that I'd recommend any freelance writer to get would be The Pajama Myth by Sean Meads Williams, which is just a really practical but also engaging and entertaining read that like prepares you for a lot of the things that you need to know as a freelance writer. And there are a lot of newsletters, email newsletters. She does one as well, which will basically send you a bunch of call outs every week that will tell you editors that are looking for pitches on a certain subject. Any aspiring journalists, I'd definitely recommend them checking those newsletters out and just constantly looking for potential places to get their writing.
So you've mentioned, obviously, one of the challenges is, I guess the wider spread support in some of the, I guess we say, the more commercially read types of media for beer. Is there any other challenges that you are coming up against?
I think just in general as a freelancer, it's a massive slog. Like it isn't for the faint-hearted. You need to be able to deal with rejection constantly, which you do get quite good at. So I think that's quite a valuable skill to have. But you also need to basically do a bunch of things that you never really prepared to do, such as like your taxes and invoicing and chasing payments all the time. Those are some of the biggest challenges, I think, just like the practical stuff that you don't necessarily think about. You think, oh, I'm writing this amazing story and it's going to be really interesting. And that is great. And that's what you do it for. But there's all this other stuff as well that you have to do.
Yeah, definitely. And then I guess on the flip side, obviously you get quite a bit more freedom. But are there any other benefits if somebody's trying to take the leap? I guess what would you sell as the benefits of what you're doing?
Yeah, no, the freedom is definitely a massive part of it, in various different senses. The freedom to kind of structure your own week and work when you want to. As much as you need to have some discipline to do that, it's brilliant to be able to take opportunity and take advantage of that. And I'd say that the freedom to work on ideas that you're passionate about is probably the most important thing to me. A lot of my work does come from me pitching the idea myself, so it'll be something that I'm interested in exploring, regardless of whether I get a commission on it or not. But if you can end up getting paid to do that, it's kind of the dream job, really. So I am very grateful to have that. Yeah.
And how does it work for you? So if you do have, I guess you have lots of like different ideas that you've got jotted down that you're like, actually, I'm going to kind of pursue this and investigate this. When you pitch something and, you do get those rejections, is there kind of I guess, a threshold or a time frame where you go, actually, I am still really interested in this and I want to pursue it on my own and I'm going to, shift that to my Substack or whatever that may be?
You do have to judge it case by case, really. Sometimes you'll have a pitch that is very much tailored to a specific place. And if it doesn't work out there, it's a bit of a bummer. But yeah, I've got a platform I use called Trello, which basically I use to track all my pitches. So all the publications that they've gone out to be on there. If it's a rejection, that will make a note of that. And you're constantly kind of like moving things around on there and trying to work out if you can find different places for it. And in terms of the Substack, a lot of the things I've explored on there will be things that I wouldn't really expect to get commissioned by anywhere. And therefore it allows me to, first of all, not go through the whole pitching process, which can be a bit of a pain in the ass, but also to not have to be restricted in terms of style guides and things like that. I can just take it in whatever direction I want to.
So you mentioned earlier your favourite pub in the world, and I feel like it would be quite a disservice if we didn't talk about that pub. Do you want to go into that?
Yeah, so my favourite pub is the pub I mentioned earlier, the Fat Cat. So the one on West End Street, which was the original Fat Cat that Colin Keatley took over in the early 90s. Yeah, I worked there for a few years on and off, full time for a bit, and then sort of in holidays when I was at university. And it's got 12 cask hand pumps and then probably about 25 beers on gravity in the cellar. So at any one time, you've got 30 plus beers, but plus a bunch of ciders as well. And it's a very beautiful pub. My favorite kind of pubs are places with lots of trinkets and things on the walls, like mirrors with old brewery branding on them. Little nooks and crannies, lots of nice oak and wood, just lots of character, but feel quite kind of cozy. And that describes the Fat Cat. So yeah, I think that place, because of the personal connection, having worked there and seen how it all works, it's hard to top that for me, I think.
So we've mentioned pubs, so now I'm going to move on to keeping it positive and in the spirit of giving shout outs to kind of breweries and beers that you love. Yeah, the floor is yours. Go for it.
Yeah, my go-to pint in the Fat Cat is Crouch Vale Yakima Gold, which is, I don't think it's a beer that gets enough credit, but when it's served right, it's just really beautiful, well balanced, easy to drink, just the right amount of citrus and bitterness. I'm very much I like a sort of session beer, like a bitter, a pale ale around the 4% mark, something that's sessionable and it's got enough depth to kind of spend a bit more time thinking about it if you want to, but also if you don't, you can just kind of knock it back and and have a chat with your friends. 5 Points Best is one of my favourite beers. Harvey's Sussex Best I absolutely love. Often I'll be drinking a Landlord just because it's kind of everywhere, particularly in London. So yeah, those kind of beers are the ones that I'm drawn back to again and again.
Is there anyone, I guess, that you've, stumbled upon recently or anyone that you kind of want to give a shout out to that's doing amazing things right now that, people you're getting excited about, basically?
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned them a minute ago, but I do just think 5 Points are brilliant. All the beers are great, but it goes beyond that. They do really great work in the local community. I love the fresh hop beers that they do every year and the kind of connection that they have to the harvest. I think that's really important. And it's just been exciting seeing them go from strength to strength over the years. Like, it's been over a decade they've been going now. and I feel like they've achieved a huge amount in that time.
Great. Okay. So, before we say goodbye to you, I guess, have you got any final words, or is there anything, if, someone was going to leave this chat after viewing it, there's one thing they could do right now to help you, what would it be?
Yeah, so I'd say follow me on social media. My handle is at Fred_GS on Twitter and Instagram. I don't really use Twitter anymore. And then on Blue Sky, it's Fred-GS. And yeah, I'll be posting, all the pieces that I do on there. The ferment pieces, obviously, it's in magazine form, which is lovely to have it physical, but often they won't be online. So if people are able to seek those out and read them, that would be great too. And also just drop me an email or a message if you read one of my pieces. I'd love to just get any feedback, and sort of if something I write gets someone thinking, that's really interesting. I'd love to chat more with people about that.
Amazing. And I just wanted to say, obviously, thanks from the Guild of Beer, thanks from me as well, because it's been great to get to know you a little bit better today. So I just wanted to say thank you.
Thanks for having me on, Kimberly. I really appreciate it. It's been great chatting with you.